Ian Klein, Solution Architect for Telefonica Global in Madrid. For any Americans with us, that's a city in Spain. Although seemingly bald, fat, and old, Ian is justifiably renowned for his sharp intellect and even sharper wit. Despite being an experienced software architect, today he will enlighten us about an activity that we all spend a great deal of time doing. Please welcome Ian Klein.
I want to take you back to September 2013. I'm in Paris. Sadly not the city, but the meeting room in Kenyon. And my ally is Yale Citron. Hi Yale, I don't know where you are. We're in the latest in a recurring series of meetings with GSS and delivery about MEC TTM. Now these meetings were fractious. They involved many arguments. And during this particular meeting, there were many sidebars. We argued. And as we were leaving the meeting, Yael turned to me and she said, "You know, Ian, these meetings, we seem to take one step forward and then 3 steps back." Now, I think we can probably all sympathize with this sensation. We spend a lot of our time in meetings. Many of the meetings are discussing something in order to reach a decision. And we waste a lot of time in these meetings. Now, fortunately, a systems psychologist called David Cantor obviously felt the same. And he conducted some extensive fly-on-the-wall research into how people behave in meetings. And he came up with an intriguing psychological model of human behavior in meetings that's quite simple and easy to understand. And by understanding the model, we can all be more productive when we meet. Now, Cantor identified 4 basic types of behavior. And they're all equal, they're all the same, so as I'm describing them, don't think that any one is better than another. And not surprisingly, he called it the 4-player model. So I'm going to show you the model, give you some examples, and then hopefully we'll be able to use it. So the first kind of behavior is called move. A move establishes the direction of the meeting. It's a proposal. Moves typically start with sentences like, "I think we should do something," or "I propose." In these MEC TTM meetings, they often started with me repeatedly saying, "I really think we should run the mappers in production." The second kind of behavior is called oppose. Oppose is counters a move, and it stalls the discussion. An oppose typically starts with, "I disagree, you're talking rubbish, that's nonsense." Oppose is good, it generates tension in the meeting. You need oppose, you need move. The third kind of behavior is follow. Follow is an agreement with a move or an oppose. A follow establishes momentum. It moves things forward and it gives energy to the meeting. Follows typically start with "I agree." A good follow adds something to the discussion. And the final kind of behavior is called a bystand. Now, it's a kind of a passive word. It doesn't mean you just sit there doing nothing. A bystand is a perspective. When you bystand, when you behave as a bystand, you're adding perspective, you add a reflection. What does that mean? Perhaps this means this. Bystand closes loops in the meeting and causes the meeting to move forward. Now, I want to stress that these are behaviors, not roles. There's no mover and there's no opposer. During the meeting, people subconsciously play these different roles. And what Cantor observed is that the most productive meetings, people exhibit all 4 types of behavior. So knowing this fact, even though we do this subconsciously, like psychological models, you can learn to do it consciously. So if you see a meeting going one way, a bad way, you can consciously express one of the appropriate balancing behaviors in order to move things on. Now, I have some examples of things to watch out for when you're in such, shall I say, dysfunctional meetings. The first one, if you see there's mostly move, oppose, the meeting will degenerate to a shouting match. It's an argument, basically, and what you find is you get sidebar discussions as people outside the main focus of the meeting start having the same argument. And in this kind of meeting, it's essential to either do a follow or a bystand to move things on. I've been in many such meetings. Those MEC TTM meetings had many situations of move, oppose. The next kind of behavior is when there's no follows. So there's moves and bystands, but no follows. A meeting with no follows lacks energy. Many recurring committee meetings have no follows, and if you find yourself in such a meeting, you should propose that you don't do it anymore and just resolve it by email. The fewer meetings you can do, the better. The third kind of behavior pattern is when there's no bystand. If there's no bystand, then you don't really understand why you're there. People think, well, why did we meet? Why are we here? Because there was no reflection, there was no perspective. And so if you feel that you're in a meeting where you don't know why you're there, it's probably because there's either no reason to be there or no one's reflected. The last kind of pattern that Cantor points us to, we don't really experience here. It's a move pattern. You tend to get these in social interactions where you're out with your friends and you say something and someone else says something else that's unconnected. You get a disjointed conversation. At work, we don't tend to get these, but it's another kind of behavior pattern. Now, once you understand these behavior patterns, as I said, you can consciously use them. It's a bit like body language. You know, we all know that if you touch your ear like this, it's supposed to give a positive signal to the person you're with. If you do it at the right time, body language signals are complex. This model is easier than body language, but still quite difficult to use. But I encourage you to try. Look out for the patterns of behavior, and good luck. Thank you.